Welcome to Wii Vault, a series on this channel where I take a look back at old Wii games, see if they're good, if they hold up, and if they should come back today. Today's guest, Captain America Super Soldier, the movie tie-in game that has no story overlap with the movie. We get to play as Steve Rogers, the second greatest American ever, and his campaign through Europe. This game was released July 15th, 2011. 4 days before the movie. I don't know why, but all these movie tie-in games that I've talked about, they all come out before the movie. Like, just a couple days. I can't imagine it has that big of an effect on the hype for the movie. Maybe it does, I don't know. It's just kind of weird that the games come out before the movie. But this was released to the Wii, obviously, as well as the DS, 3DS, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. It was developed by High Voltage Software for the Wii and 3DS version, the version we're going to talk about today. Kryptonite games for the DS, and the Next Level games for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. All of this published by Sega. But now, let's look into the actual game. This is one of the most bare bones stories I've seen in a game that bothers to have a story. Like I said, it's got nothing to do with the movie, really. But in this game, we start with Cap pushing against Axis forces with Bucky and other allies, some up-close trench warfare. Then Cap has his first ever run-in with Hydra and marvels at their advanced technology, and calls Stark, Howard, and tells him about it. Howard points him in the direction that the tech must be coming from, given the metal that it was made out of. And during this game, there's going to be several radio calls between Howard Stark and also Peggy and Cap. All just kind of exposition dumps, maybe pointing the player in the right direction, but doesn't actually add anything to the story, so not going to bring them up again. Cap finds a castle where Hydra, led by Von Strucker, is manufacturing these weapons. This castle is apparently Zemo's, who has challenges throughout the game, chests to find, and offers Cap advice on how to navigate through this castle. So Cap does make his way through the castle, beating up Hydra goons and destroying different facilities that they have there, and Cap eventually makes it to Von Strucker, who he beats, but the fight ends in an explosion, knocking Cap out, allowing him to be captured, where his blood is drawn for Hydra to make their own super soldier serum. All of this being done by Zola. Cap wakes up and begins his escape and finds other POWs who were captured after Hydra shot down an allied plane. The POWs being Bucky and other Howling Commandos. Cap continues to fight through the Hydra research facility, destroying their facilities that were attempting to replicate the super soldier serum, destroying that plan. Red Skull then arrives and is angered at Zola's failures. But Red Skull ultimately leaves with a quick run-in with Cap, but nothing really happens. Cap eventually does find Zola, who transferred his consciousness into a robot body that Cap takes out in one hit. But then Zola goes into a way bigger robot body. I actually liked this fake out. But then Cap, with the help of Allied air support, takes out the giant robot. This ends the game as the rest of the Allied forces continue the fight. The story was super basic, and it relies a little too much on pre-existing knowledge, or all these exposition dumps via radio. Pretty boring, in my opinion. I never felt truly invested in the story or really felt any stakes that the story presented. The war backdrop can only carry so far in terms of story. It's kind of cool with this historical backdrop, but it doesn't. It's only a nice touch. It can't be what carries it. I think I'm going to give the story for this game a 3 out of 10. No like glaring plot holes or anything like aggressively bad. It's just boring and barely there. But now for what we look at this whole time. Cap does look like his movie counterpart, and it's a suit I actually really do like, and I think it looks fine in this game. Please remember that for all of these Wii Vault videos, it is factored in that these games are on the Wii. So the visuals are graded on a curve. It is only so much the Wii can do. So if it's bad, it's the Wii. It doesn't look the best, but I factor that in. And then I actually like the enemy design in this game. They feel connected as an army, as they should. Some uniform similarities between different enemy types, but it still feels like one cohesive unit. but still visually dissimilar enough to where I feel like they are unique in certain ways, including some size variety, some gameplay variety that we get into a little bit later, but overall, I actually do like how they all look visually. Enough variety to not feel the exact same again and again and again, which the same cannot be said about the level design. Besides the opening part with the trench warfare that happens, everything is within a building in this game, whether it's a research facility or like a castle, but it all just feels like the inside of the same German building. I kind of thought for a second this all was completely within the same building, but I think you do travel a little bit in between like cutscenes, but you're just going through these same feeling hallways, these same type of rooms again and again and again, and it does become very, very boring to look at, and it just doesn't feel like it's doing as much as it could. It would have really benefited from some changes, whether it be different environments to play in, different architecture styles of a building. I mean, I got tired of looking at this. Now, the voice performance were pretty good, and it felt like the characters, which makes sense, as most of the roles in this were voiced by the same actors from the movie. So no surprise the characters sound like how I imagined, given how I imagine them sounding is based off the movies. So I think I'm going to give this game, for the arts, a 6 out of 10. Good voice performances, enemy designs, like the suit, but the score was like tremendously hurt by the uncreative level design. But I'll try to look at everything all encompassing, so I can only knock it down so far because of that, but it is a big hit. 6 out of 10. This shit was super simple. It's A to jump, B to hit, and C to quick throw your shield, and then hold C for a bullet time mode where you kind of plan out a path for the shield to go. And then Z to counter enemy attacks when prompted. This mechanic was definitely inspired by the Arkham games that had come out, with the combat parry system that this game has, but it is a nice touch, but it is like all of the combat in this game. It's just that. But it is pretty much the whole of the combat in the game. You get stars in this game, which kind of active experience points that allow you to upgrade your character, to upgrade Captain America. These upgrades pretty much either just like increasing health, getting more focus stars, which allow you to hit different things in the bullet time mode with the shield, or adding in like new attacks at the end of combos that you get. Now the combat upgrades in that screen have virtually no impact on actually gameplay, as all those are just different finishers, different like knockdowns, beats, something that happen when you hit a certain combo score. So it doesn't affect how you play. You keep hitting around, so you hit that number. Cap does something that doesn't actually feel any different. It just looks slightly different on screen, but it doesn't affect any of the gameplay, like I said. So just pretty disappointing. It does just leave the combat in this game being spamming B until you see a Z pop over someone's head, and then you press it, and that's combat. There are some villains that change it up a little bit, like different ones where they throw bombs that stick to the shield that you throw back to knock them out, then you kind of hit them. Or enemies you kind of they have like rage modes where they just like bull rush, where you have to just completely get out of the way, then you can hit them. But those are very few, and honestly, not enough to really change the flow of combat and how it truly feels. So it's just, you're just spamming B and Z the whole time you fight. Occasional, shield throws. But one thing that was really annoying was if an enemy is knocked, right, you can stomp on them to just finish them. What's annoying, though, is if you have a cluster of enemies, and one guy's knocked and another guy's not, to aim your hits, you just kind of tilt the joystick in the direction of the enemy. If I'm aiming the joystick at the guy that's knocked, it would more often than not go a completely different direction to hit a guy that's standing, allowing that other guy to get back up and join in on the fight. It was so annoying. I was like, I just want to utilize this in-game mechanic of downing the enemy. They're down, I can finish them. But it wouldn't fucking do that. Ever. It would always just jump to whoever else was standing. And I'm like, look, he's not hitting me right now. I can just knock this guy out and then go with this fight. But it was so aggravating. It wouldn't want to target the guy that was down on the ground, ever. No matter how much I tried to just aim it at him, point it at him, direct my character there, wouldn't want to finish him. That pissed me off probably more than anything else in the combat, but we're going to keep talking. We're going to keep moving. Honestly, there's only 2 boss fights that really stuck in mind. The final boss fight with Zola, and then the Von Strucker fight. And both of these fights have grunts in them, so they're not one-on-ones. So the boss fights in this game suck. If I'm not having a one-on-one in a boss fight, I'm not enjoying the boss fight. As soon as other grunts get involved, and it's not a one-on-one, I just get frustrated and pissed, even if it's easy. The Zola fight, it was fine because it wasn't like I was still having to fight the big robot while I fight the grunts. It was pretty much like air support's distracting Zola, I fight the grunts, then I go attack Zola. But good boss fights are one-on-ones. Great boss fights are one-on-ones. Bad boss fights are clusterfucks, which the Von Strucker fight most certainly was one. So yeah. Also, with the Zola fight, you actually only fight him with QuickTime events. Something you did sporadically throughout the game, but were very rare, and it still wouldn't be what I want in a final boss fight. Maybe to a degree, you sprinkle them in, but purely the only way you hit Zola, the only way you interact with Zola in the final boss fight are QuickTime events. I don't like that. It just feels so disconnected from how the entire rest of this game was played. You could make the argument that it makes it more cinematic. You could have that opinion. I don't have it. I don't like that. I disagree with that, but you could have that opinion. But yeah, I'm going to give the gameplay a 3 out of 10. The shield was cool. I don't think I touched on it too much. It's pretty basic, just pointing out where it's going to go, but it totally worked for a Captain America game. You needed that. It had it. So I'll give it that. So that's pretty much it for positives. Super bland, repetitive, button mashing, disappointing boss fights. I would get angry at sometimes, but it wasn't like that bad. Like it serviceable, but I mean 3 out of 10, about the best I could give it. But now to some of the more positives, and let's see who was in this thing. So Captain America, or Steve Rogers, was voiced by Chris Evans. I'm guessing at this time movie contracts included in, like, hey, you also got to voice a little bit of the game. Maybe. That's my guess. Not every actor, I think, is in the movie voices here, but a lot. You know, there's a good bit of them here, including Chris Evans, who was also Johnny Storm or the Human Torch in the Fantastic Four movies. Bucky Barnes was Sebastian Stan. He was also Tommy in Pam and Tommy. We have Peggy Carter, who was Haley Atwell. She was also Bess Foster in The Duchess. Timothy Duggan was Neil McDonough? Not sure if I said that right, but also Fletcher in Minority Report. James Fallsworth was J.J. Field, who was also Thax in Centurion. Howard Stark, Liam O'Brien. Also Asura in Asura's Wrath. We got a main character here for this one. Red Skull was Keith Ferguson, or Reaper in Overwatch. Zola was Andre Sogliuzzo. I doubt I said that one right. Was also the Smokey and Steamer in the Polar Express. Christmas movie I've probably seen every year for who knows how many years at this point. Madam Hydra was also in this game. I didn't touch on her because she honestly didn't really matter. She was a boss fight that I don't remember, but she was in this game. She was voiced by Audrey Wasilewski. Holy shit, hold on. Wasilewski. Again, man, this is probably the worst performance I've had in not pronouncing some of these names. I apologize. Was also Tuck in My Life as a Teenage Robot. Von Strucker was Kai Wolf. Did a lot of voices in Call of Duty games. Was also Lieutenant Colonel Koskov in Firefox. Old movie. And then we have Zemo, voiced by. Any guesses, ladies and gentlemen? Is there a name that I've said in every single Wii Vault besides like Wii Play that I haven't said yet? Who's been in every single one? If there's voice acting, he's in it. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Zemo was voiced by Steve Blum. Give it up for the consistent Steve Blum appearance in this series. Also voiced Sub-Zero in Mortal Kombat Legends: Scorpion's Revenge. Big shout out to Steve Blum as always. But let's wrap this one up. Captain America Super Soldier isn't movie tie-in games at their worst, but it's not that far off. It has some really good shield play, solid voice performances, enemy design. It has repetitive level design, disappointing boss fights, monotonous gameplay, but was fun to play at times. Solid as something to play while you're watching something else. I started streaming this, had to cut that. No one's tuning in. I'm not having a good time. Just played it while I was watching other stuff. But I think overall, I'm going to give the game a 4 out of 10. Not good, but not a waste of time, I guess. But let's look forward to the next game in the series.
The invasion has begun.
Aliens are attacking our planet.
And the fate of the world is in your hands. Ben 10, Alien Force, the video game.
But that is going to do it for this video. If you've played this game, tell me your own thoughts. Tell me what you agreed with most and what you disagreed with most in the comments below. What other game you would like to see me do in this series. But that is going to do it for this one, so please like this video if you've made it this far. Subscribe, because I got a lot more coming, a lot of exciting projects on the way. My history of every Spider-Man game ever video flopped, which kind of hurt because I think it's the best video I've ever done. So please check that out if you haven't already. But that is going to do it, like I said, for this one. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, keep gaming.